Hola, buenos días, buenas noches, or buenas tardes. We're going to begin getting ready for our assessment. So this video will focus on assessment preparation as we get ready for the Unit 2 Lesson 1 exam. So to get ready for that assessment, the first thing you're going to do after seeing the video is a practice activity. And that practice activity will not be for a grade. It's just going to give you some chance to practice everything from this chapter. You'll be able to see the answers right away, so you get some immediate feedback. What that looks like is there's a listening activity here and an activity to complete to help you practice your listening one more time before the exam. Question 2 is to practice your verb conjugations. You're going to read the information below and fill in the blanks with the correct form of the verb. And then this next part down here says, say what you do and how often you do things. Tell how often these people do the following activities. So if we look at the model, it says numero uno. It has Roberta contestar preguntas, and it says 0 días. Well, if we look at the chart above that, 0 días corresponds to nunca. So I want to use that in my answer. So I'd write a sentence saying, Roberta nunca contesta preguntas. All right, so as you do number 1 down here, the answer is already there for you. Try 2 through 7. Now, sometimes Canvas is a pretty hard grader, so if you have one word off or something like that, it's going to mark it wrong, which is why I have it set to show you the correct answer, so you can see if for some reason Canvas tells you it was wrong, why it's saying it was wrong. It might actually just be more of a Canvas problem than it is actually yours. So double check your work once you finish, and you'll have a chance to write those in. All right, once you do that, you'll be ready to move on to the assessment. But again, finish watching all this video before you start the assessment, because the assessment is on a timer like all of our assessments are. So I want to show you various parts of the assessment before you get going, so that way you can kind of think through what's going to be on the assessment before you open it up to start. All right, the first set of questions will have to do with listening. Listen as your teacher gives you the schedule of classes for the day, and then match each class with the time that the class begins. So there'll be some questions to go along with that audio file. There's going to be a second audio file. Miguel just received his report card and is discussing his grades with his father. For each subject, match the grade that Miguel receives. So the first 2 sections will be listening. From there, we're going to move on to vocabulary. The directions say, Jose likes to do different things with his friends. Read his description and complete the sentences with the correct vocabulary words. So you'll need to use vocabulary words from this chapter. The next section is write these times in Spanish, spell out the numbers, and don't forget to express AM or PM. So we'll be practicing with time and using time and all we learned about that. From there, we're going to move on. It says, say how much money each person has by writing the correct form of the verb tener. So you want to make sure that you can use tener correctly and spell it correctly and form it correctly. From there, we're going to move on to, it says, complete the conversation between Juan and Sarah by writing the correct form of the verb in the present tense. You'll need to conjugate the verbs that end in AR. They will all be AR verbs. All right. From next, we're going to move on to some Q&A. Answer these questions below in a complete sentence in Spanish about what a good student does at school. Use the most likely expression of frequency in the answer. So you're going to see something like, tienes que llegar a la escuela, nunca or siempre. Well, the prompt is answer the question in a complete sentence about what a good student does at school. So, for example, we would say, nunca tengo que llegar tarde a la escuela, because a good student would never have to arrive late. A good student would arrive early. So you'll respond based off what the good student would do. Moving on, Elena likes her school very much. You're going to read a description of Elena's school, and then there'll be some Q&A that follows that, and a little bit of writing for a couple of the questions. All right, and then speaking of writing, we're going to do a little bit of writing at the end. Write an article for the school newspaper describing 3 classes that you like. Look over the scoring guide before you write your article, and make sure you include the following information: the name of each class, the name of the teacher, the time that each class begins, and one activity that you do in the class. And again, as you write this, just like we always say on our activities, make sure you're only using vocabulary and grammar that we have learned in our class. All right, the scoring guide is listed below. A perfect one would see under the 5 category. You describe each class in detail. You include information about your teacher, your schedule, and your responsibilities in your class. Your paragraph is clear and well organized. Your writing is easy to understand. And you use grammar, vocabulary, spelling, and punctuation correctly. Okay? And then the very last part of the exam will be, well, actually the last 2 parts will do with speaking. Record a video in Canvas. In the video, tell Senior Peeper 5 things that you have to do this week. Only use grammar and vocab we have learned this year. So to say what you have to do, we'll need to use the grammar tener que infinitive. So for example, if one thing that I have to do this week is study, tengo que estudiar. You're going to tell me 5 things. And the last 2 parts of speaking here, record a video in Canvas in Spanish. In the video, you're going to say the numbers that will appear on your screen out loud. Okay? And then the last 5 questions will be answer this question in a complete sentence in Spanish, submit a video in Canvas to answer each question, only use grammar and vocab we have learned this year. So I'm going to pose to you 5 simple questions, and you'll respond in Spanish by making a video. All right, that's what the assessment will look like. So again, before you begin, just kind of go through this video again, kind of have everything, give you a chance to study what you need to study. And then once you take the exam, again, it will be on a timer, so that way you can get the best possible score that you can earn. But again, don't begin taking that exam until you've gone through all the practice activities, so that way you're ready to take the exam and wrap up this week's class. Adios, chicos. Hasta luego.